with another episode of Keeping It Real
Estate. That was perfect.
Nailed it.
Nailed it.
We nailed it. That was a good one, Mo.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I was practicing that all night last night.
I could tell. It really came out.
Keeping it real estate. Keeping it real estate. Keeping it real estate.
So there's different.
Estate. I was like, how should I do that? Okay. We have another hot subject. Again, keeping it real.
Yeah.
Right?
Real topics, real life scenarios.
Real scenarios, things that are happening to you out there and happening to us.
Yeah.
And so I have a question for you, Danny.
Yes.
And it's so funny because I could think of just recently this client told me a story that you guys referred to me.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh my gosh, Silicon Valley team is so awesome. Okay, this one goes, I've been looking at houses for so long and I made so many offers. I can't believe it. And then the first time, we meet you and you pre-approve us right away. And then we get our first offer accepted. Okay, and he goes, this is crazy. And I'm not exaggerating. It was hysterical. So the question is, you didn't expect all that, huh?
I did not. Is this like a surfer bro or like which?
It was. Maybe that's a surfer bro. That's my rendition of him. But you guys. Yeah, I will tell you his name later. But anyways, he loves you guys. He's found you actually on YouTube. So anyways, so the question to you that I have is for buyers that are out there making offer after offer, and for realtors that seem to not be able to get, their buyer's offer accepted. What's the secret? I mean, obviously it probably doesn't happen all the time, but what could you do? What kind of advice can you give a buyer and or realtors and how you've been successful in standing out amongst those 15 offers?
Yeah, and so truth be told, this is a stat that we track. It's one of the ones that I'm most proud of. Heading into 2021, we're pacing at over 75% of our clients' first offers being accepted. That's gone down a little. I mean, this has been a brutal market. We're at around 70-ish%, give or take a few percentage points right now. So we do have an exceptionally high rate of success at getting our clients' first offer accepted, and there are many reasons why. But the core reason is that we have a strategy. We've refined it over the years, but we have a system and a strategy in place that we deploy. And when our numbers start to go down, then we have to figure out where in the strategy do we need to fix, like what part of the strategy isn't working right now, and then it's just a simple fix. But if you don't have a system in place, then you're just winging it every single time, I can tell you that's a recipe for disaster, because especially in this market, you're not going to succeed if you don't have a clear cut, this is what we need to do every single time that we make an offer.
Okay, so I am your buyer. And I see a house and it's listed for $1.1 million.
Okay.
And in my brain, as the buyer, I'm looking and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to offer more than 115.
Okay.
Okay. Or 125, whatever it might be, 1.2. Sure. It's listed for 1.1. I don't want to offer more than 1.2. Right? Okay. What would you tell me? What's your strategy? So you said, the strategy, I have systems. I have a strategy and systems in place. And I'm like, okay, wow. I was listening. But that's so vague, right? Okay. And so we want to help people, get those tips from you on what they could do, right? So what would you tell me if I'm your buyer? How would you take me to the point where I'm going to write what you want me to write, and that I'm going to be happy with it, right? Because that's the other thing, right? As a buyer, I want to make sure I'm happy with what I'm paying, right? So what kind of conversation do you have with me?
So this goes back to the beginning when we first meet our clients, and we lay everything out on the table. We explain a couple of things. Number one, we don't make offers on properties unless we absolutely love the home. You see, in Silicon Valley, the vast majority of buyers out there get caught up into this herd mentality where it's like, we just need to make an offer to make an offer. And unfortunately, that never ends up working out for the buyer, because either they don't right to win because they don't truly love the home, or if they magically somehow luck out into getting the property, they hate it. And then they're stuck with something they don't love. And that's honestly a tragedy, because if you're spending $1.2 million on a house, like, Jesus, that is a huge amount of money. You should be ecstatic about the house that you're living in.
For sure. Yeah.
And so the foundation of our success is we only make offers on properties that we absolutely love.
That's one.
That's number one.
What's two?
Number two is the components of our offer. And how we structure it is fairly similar to how most top agents in Silicon Valley structure. We have some sort of introduction, whether it be a letter, a video, some way of communicating that our buyer loves the home to the sellers and the listing agent. Now, in today's world, with all of these new rules and regulations about the love letter for buyers, we have to be careful about how we present that if we want to present it. So it's kind of a case-by-case basis. But nevertheless, the love letter was a core component, and still, for some offers, is a core component of our component offer, if you will. Then it's the purchase agreement. And of course, we talk to our clients about what we do to really make sure that we're presenting the best offer possible in terms of the cleanest terms, right? So
the components, back up. So, because if I'm a little confused, then
yes,
they're a little confused.
Yes.
First one, must love. Two, components. What specific components are you talking about?
Okay. So for our offers, we have generally 4 main components. So must love isn't a component. It's just like the foundation.
That's the first thing.
That's the foundation.
Then the second one you said was components.
So you can think of it as 4 different components.
Okay. Gotcha.
So then we have our cover letter.
Cover letter. Okay.
We have our purchase agreement.
Okay.
And a purchase agreement that is written in such a way that is going to motivate the seller to want to accept it, meaning the cleanest terms possible, et cetera. And we'll go into how we figure all of that out.
Okay.
The next thing is proof of funds, standard thing. And then finally, a pre-approval letter from a lender that we know and that we trust. Mm-hmm. And she's sitting right here with me. The reason why we really emphasize getting pre-approved with a lender that we know, that we trust, is because Monique's system is conducive to getting your offer accepted. Why? She pre-underwrites your file. I'm not going to get into all of the semantics of what that means, but essentially you can think about it like this. A normal buyer, when they make an offer on a property, the lender takes 17 days after the contract is accepted to underwrite their file and approve the buyer. Monique is able to do that all before the buyer even makes an offer, which essentially equates to being as strong as a cash offer, because the bank has committed to lending to the buyer.
Right. So the loan is a non-issue now at that
Correct.
point. Right.
Correct. And so that is a huge win, and puts us on the same level as most cash offers. Number one. Number two, you have to sell. So in previous episodes, we've talked about like agents being good at selling their buyer. The lender has to be good at selling the buyer too. So if you have a great realtor that's selling the buyer to the listing agent, and then you have a great lender selling the buyer to the listing agent, that's a match made in heaven. I've said this many times in many of my speeches to agents and in talks and stuff around the country. A really good friend of mine, Mark Pattison, in San Diego, Mark wrote this incredibly powerful statement. He said, the lender is the new love letter. He says the lender is the new love letter, and it is so true.
That's why I wore pink.
It's every day is Valentine's Day here. the lender's new love letter, and it really does make a huge difference, and people don't realize it. They're like, oh yeah, whatever, I just get the best rate. And it's like, well, listen, bud, because rate isn't everything, and generally speaking, most lenders are going to be very competitive. So it's fascinating how much even that will entice the sellers, like just seeing like, oh yeah, this is like a really solid buyer, no loan contingency, fully underwritten, ready to go. But that's not even the crux of it. So we have our foundation, which is you have to love the house. Then we have the same an offer structured in the same way with those 4 components.
Right.
And then
the 4 components being the writing a good, clean contract, having a good, strong pre-approval / commitment letter.
Proof of funds and a cover letter.
Proof of funds and a cover letter. Gotcha.
And then we have I coach all my agents up on the same system for how to approach listing agents. We have a minimum of 3 phone conversations with the listing agent leading up to making the offer. Monique, I'm not joking when I say you would be surprised at how many real estate agents never make an attempt to speak to the listing agent on the phone. As a listing agent, I mean, I list dozens of homes every year. Half the agents that send me offers I've never heard from before. They just throw it in. And I'm like, what kind of strategy is that? It's the put in the offer and pray situation or strategy, which is a bad strategy. So we make a minimum of 3 touches. At touch number 3, we've already beat every other agent out there. No agents made more than 1 or 2 phone calls to the listing agent. And every phone call is different. I'm not going to get into the semantics. I won't get into the weeds of what we do on each call, but I can assure you that every call has a purpose, and every call gets us closer to figuring out what you asked earlier, which is pricing. Mm-hmm. You see, it doesn't matter what I think the home is worth. And frankly, it doesn't matter what the buyer thinks the home is worth.
Right.
It matters what the market thinks the home is worth.
Right.
And we won't know that until if the home offers are due at 12 o'clock at 12:01. So we never submit our offers like at noon. Like we're on the phone with the agent at noon or 12:05 or 12:10.
To find out what are you asking the listing agent at that point? So offers are due now. What's the conversation? You calling me, hi, this is Monique, listing agent Monique. How may I help you?
It's a really hard question. Monique, where do we need to be to win?
Oh, I can't tell you that, Danny. I'm so sorry. I can't tell you that. That's what they say.
Here's the thing.
Actually, and I know they can tell you.
You know what? No.
No, they can't? They're not allowed to?
We don't get that very often.
Okay, so
we've done such a good job priming them to give us what we need that generally speaking, I will say 9 times out of 10, we either get a range or a number.
Okay, so I call you and I say, hey, Danny, I'm writing this offer. So I talked to you yesterday and you had mentioned you had 3 offers already. Mm-hmm. It's 12 o'clock. We're getting ready to send you our offer. How are things looking right now for me?
Right. So I'm the listing agent?
Yeah, now you're the listing agent.
Well,
what do they usually say? Because you said that's not what they usually say. So I'm asking you, what do they usually say?
Okay, I see. So given that we've got prepped them and everything, so generally, so most of the time they'll say, well, I have X number of offers in hand right now, and the highest one that I have is above X number, or it's kind of in this range.
Okay.
And that's the best I can do for you. One example that I'll give is, and this is a loan that you were doing for us, is was out in Dublin area, Pleasanton, and we got a number from the listing agent that was about $100,000 less than my clients were expecting, and they won the house, and they could have paid $100,000 more, but we won it. We won it for less money, and all because we had built rapport with the agents leading up to it. And I'm sure that horrifies every seller who hears this. So choose wisely when you pick your agent. But the truth is that it's a team effort. And so too many agents out there have watched too many episodes of $1 Million Listing.
Mm-hmm.
This is
that's
not
real life. That doesn't really happen.
Correct.
Just like
this
that.
is not a combative type of thing. If you create an alliance with the listing agent and you do the right things leading up to it, there is no reason why you can't get a number up front. And by the way, ultimately, our buyers have all the control. If they don't want to write that price, well, we just saved ourselves the headache and the turmoil and the heartache of losing a property. Like, we can let it go so much easier if we don't put pen to paper. Mm-hmm. Because ultimately, it's like, oh wow, that went way higher, and that's happened to us, right? But we've educated the buyers, and they are so grateful that we did that, because we did all of the dirty work. We got there and got them closer to a decision versus being stuck in a contract or negotiating phase when we had no business making the offer. So it works both ways.
Right.
It keeps us from writing offers that we're definitely going to lose, right? Which helps our percentage,
right,
obviously.
Right.
And then when we get that range or we get that number from the listing agent, it's like, there's no reason why we shouldn't be getting our offer accepted, because we've built a great relationship with the agent.
Right.
They know who we are because
right.
we've called them so many times. We've had great rapport with them. You've called them.
Right.
Why won't they accept it? And so right then and there, like, it's hard work. And that's why most real estate agents won't do it. It's because it does take a lot of work. And when you lose and you've put in that much work, it stinks.
Well,
it really hurts.
Unless you're someone who's just, emailing over the offer and never making any of those calls and not really putting in the work,
Correct. And that's why they do it. It's because the market has conditioned them to not put in their best effort. Mm-hmm. And they're not really willing to try because they're defeated before they even go into battle. And if that is their mindset, then that's just, why would anyone want to work with that kind of person? So for me, it's always about, how do we maximize the feeling of camaraderie between ourselves and the listing agent to give us the best possible chance.
Right.
Because ultimately that stat didn't happen overnight. That wasn't an accident. That was because I've taken years of training and missed shots and missed opportunities and collective knowledge, put together something that we not feel but know is a winning strategy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I know that your buyers really appreciate it, because I know when I talk to them, they're so excited that their offer got accepted. Sometimes they'll talk to me and they'll say, oh, we got a counter. I'm not sure, Monique, if we should go that high. Danny says we need to go to this. But and you know what? It's what I tell them is, one, to your point, must love. Because my response to that only works if you really love the house.
Right.
Okay. So what I always tell them is, let me tell you something. Do you love the house? I love it. I totally can see myself living in there, and this reason, and it's near my mom, and it's near here, or it's away from my mom, whatever the reason is. But when they love it, I'll tell them, I'll tell you something. If you get it for the price that Danny's telling you, you would never be moved in your home, with your fireplace on or with your TV chilling, kicking yourself for what you spent. You just wouldn't. You're not gonna be at home and say, what was I thinking? You're not. Every single person who I've known we do a lot of purchases, there is not a single person that is regretting, what they paid. Now, granted, I too have been doing this a long time. Mm-hmm. So, you ask yourself, well, what if the values come down? What if, right? So these people that really, truly love their home before it's even theirs, they have no intention on moving in the near future. Mm-hmm. So what values do really is irrelevant. It really is. Because that's what I'll tell clients. Well, are you planning to flip the house? Well, no. Then who cares? Mm-hmm. Right? If you love it and you're looking forward to raising your family there and the schools are great and it's a wonderful community, you're never going to kick yourself. Never.
Right. Well, and yeah, I mean, to piggyback off of that, it's just the price of losing in this market is way higher than the price of winning. Mm-hmm. Because when you lose, you now have to overpay what the winner of that house paid in order to win.
Right.
And like all things, all great things will come to an end. Yes, one day we will have a correction. But then the question is, at that point, will they ever come down to where the values are right now? And there's too much uncertainty and unknown to actually make a bold conclusive prediction on whether or not the market could ever come down to where it is today, because it could be a year from now, 2 years from now, and how much appreciation has happened between now and then will ever come down to where it is right now. And
but none of that matters, Danny, if you love the house. That's my point.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Well, it does and it doesn't. There are people out there that I'm sure it matters to, and I get it. And my only rebuttal to that is, if it matters to you that much, then we should really be focused on making sure that you don't allow the market to price you out, because just as fast as the market can drop, it can rise. And so, it's just, there's too many variables. We've been doing this a long time now, Mo. Mm-hmm. And anytime someone comes to me trying to game the market, they lose. They lose.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. But with this strategy, I honestly feel like if you love a house, there's no reason why we shouldn't get it for you.
Right.
I mean, I can count on one hand this year, like the number of offers we've been involved with, where the buyer just was head over heels for it. We didn't get it. And they ended up finding something great on the next try. So it's just, yeah. But
they probably didn't get it because maybe they weren't willing to offer what you might have recommended them, or no?
No, everything was different.
It's going for way higher than what you had thought.
I would say usually it was because it went higher than they wanted it to go, and ultimately that's, like I said, like you have all the control. So if this is now over where we want it to be, then let's just move. Let's move on. Right. Let's go find something that something else that you love.
Right.
So yeah. That's
I always tell my clients. I always tell them, listen to your realtor. Listen to, let them earn. And I don't take, if you're a realtor, you got to take this the right way. I always tell my buyers, let your realtor earn their commission. There's a reason why they've chosen this profession. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why they are giving the advice that they're giving you, because they have the education, the expertise, and they know what they're talking about. So let them earn their commission. Listen to them. Mm-hmm. If your attorney tells you, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that, I would plead this, I would do that, you're not going to be, I don't know, attorney. I think I'm going to do what I want to do. Right?
Right.
And I'm going to pay you $150,000 because attorneys make a crap load of money, right? But for a realtor, they're making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 on a commission.
Right.
I tell the clients, let them earn it. Mm-hmm. Let them do their homework. Listen to their advice and do what they say. That's what you're paying them for. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I believe. Make sure that your lenders listen to your realtor, I think it's important.
Yeah.
Because buyers aren't the professionals. You guys are the professionals. Right? And
that's kind of what, yeah. No, I know. And it's one of those things where it's easier said than done. Ultimately, you have to trust your gut too.
Yes.
You know, I would combat the let them earn their commission thing simply because not every agent is in it for the client. I know many who are in it for themselves.
I'm having faith and trust that
for sure, and that's where they got to use their spidey senses to make sure that they're working with someone that actually has their best interest.
Well, and I'm assuming all of that. You know, so that's what I'm assuming.
Yeah. Well, the realtors that you work with, obviously, they're
I'm
good
very
peeps.
blessed to have some great realtors.
Agents on my team, great peeps. And
so those are the things that 4 components to sum it up.
Yeah. So just to sum it all up, there are, I would say, 3 major. I can't say components now because I've already said components, but 3 things that we do differently. Number 1, we make sure that we have a foundation, or that the foundation is based on loving the house. Then we have our 4 offer components, if you will. And then finally, it's our negotiation strategy with the listing agent, which involves a minimum of 3 touches and
building
so on
that
and so
rapport.
forth.
So building the rapport with the listing agent, super important.
And by the way, if anyone wants to just go over their specific situation and wants to talk strategy, they can text the word strategy to 408-868-3381. That's 408-868-3381. Monique's over here doing sign language, signing.
Wait, did you even get that? 3, 8, 1.
You're so weird. I'm cutting you off.
Okay, I'm done. No more water for you. Okay, so this is Mo Money Stanford, selling money, and
Danny Gould, selling Silicon Valley.
Signing off.
Catch you guys in the next episode.